All right, team, we're back with the Ask Maddie show today, and we're going to have a great show for you guys today, so you're going to want to stay until the end. Today, we are talking about, should you start selling your altcoins? We have seen these altcoins like XRP, HBAR, now Zcash, popping off this bull run, starting off the late November, now early December. And you guys want to know, should you start taking some profits? You know, if you're in profit, it's not that bad of a time to take those off the table, to take those chips off the table. As we discussed on Monday, we talked about, the investor mindset of, hey, you spent all that time in the bear market, Matt, and now you have to take those chips as the bull run continues on here. And, we have price targets for those on the website, but we're going to get into some of those things today. We're also going to talk about an XRP doc. I think it premiered in Scottsdale, Maddie. I was trying to go watch that, but didn't get that opportunity. We're also going to discuss some good entry points on some altcoins here and some XRP lies. Dun, dun, dun. Maddie, people are not happy with you. We have this one video on YouTube. It's a short from maybe 2 years ago. And it's literally Maddie telling the XRP community, hey, you guys can't get everything you guys wish for, all right? Let's be realistic here. And people just are relentless, Matt. And people still think, I still get comments to this day, the comments on the YouTube, still saying, oh, blah, 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 look how wrong you are, because XRP has popped off. Like, oh, look at all this. It's like, guys, you got these YouTube shorts. These people watch these YouTube shorts one time, and it's like, oh, this guy's a Bitcoin maxi when they have no idea or background of where we're from. Maddie, talking about the markets here, though, seeing a little pullback in the markets right now. We've been stomping pretty high. What are you seeing in the markets right now?
We've seen a really big pullback in Bitcoin dominance, a little over like about a 10% decrease over the last week and some change here. So that's a very big pullback in Bitcoin dominance. We're seeing a little bit of a cool off today in the altcoin market, and it's very much needed. I know a lot of you guys, you see the pullback and you're like, we don't need this, just straight up get to my targets, right? But that's not how markets are supposed to work. They're generally supposed to have healthy pullbacks and retest some of the zones that were, even if they're for short periods of time, areas of resistance, turning those back into floors of support, confirming that we're making higher lows. Higher highs and higher lows are the staple of a healthy uptrend. So we're definitely seeing a little bit of bearishness in the market today. I'd like to see a little bit more of it, if I'm being honest. I know that's not what you guys want to hear, but the further we go without these corrections, the harder we do get the corrections when they do come. So you guys should be rooting for more consistent, healthy corrections along the way instead of a straight line up, because those are not sustainable.
Maddie, I saw you stirring up some beef on some Twitter this morning. You stirred up some beef with some other creators out there. And some people are saying, oh, this XRP price run is artificial, or they make up whatever excuse to just say from the fact like there is demand for XRP. What is your response to these people that are saying like, oh, XRP, this is artificial price. This doesn't look real. This looks propped up.
It's just clowns out there who don't know anything about anything. One of the people that I was picking a bone with earlier today, and it wasn't just me, basically pointed to the price chart, scrunched up all of XRP's price history into a chart that was this big, across, so you couldn't even see this 2013 through 2017 fractal and go, look, if a price chart does 400% in 30 days time, that's a pump and dump. You guys should know what a scam looks like. And what the hell are you talking about? If you go and you look at early Bitcoin fractals, right? Like, and you see how fast a lot of those, ran up, in the early days of Bitcoin, as well as when we started having more of a liquid market, especially into the 2017, 2018 cycle, the parabolas were printing like crazy. And most people who weren't in the space will probably say, oh yeah, that's a scam. But this particular person is a certified financial advisor and still is overtly spreading FUD out there. So you know who you are. Stop that bullshit. But most of us know XRP's been around since 2013, right? We got over a decade of price action here. Zero downtime on this chain. Very, very cheap, very high throughput, practically instant finality. Integrated into so many financial tech stacks out there. Tons of partnerships with the company Ripple, the for-profit company Ripple, that utilizes XRP within its tech stack is one of their primary products. So now that we have the SEC case, primarily out of the way, we've got Gary Gensler resigning. There's a lot of optimism in the space. So for us to see a 4x after a 6-year compression structure, by the way, that's how long we were in this compression structure, 5.5, 6 years. We were in a multi-year compression structure, and it finally breaks to the upside hard. But why is this so hard for people to fathom when, Solana somehow, doesn't take any breaks, from $5 up to several $100s, right? And that's an okay rally. Or XLM does a 6x, and that's an okay rally. HBAR does, several X's from the lows, that's an okay and healthy rally, and that's a legitimate asset. But somehow, because XRP is climbing the ranks and flipping all the major market caps out there, suddenly XRP is the problem child out there. At the end of the day, guys, the market is the market, right? We're going to continue to see these rotations. Bitcoin will have a pump again, right? Like Bitcoin will have a little bit more time to shine. Then we'll go rotate back into the alts again. It's a very healthy, normal part of the market process. So again, just because something pumps a very large amount in a short period of time does not constitute a pump and dump, right? The velocity of that pump does not constitute a pump and dump. Now, obviously, if we're talking about shit coins and Yomama coin that was just minted on Solana network and it does a 500x, overnight, yeah, that's a pretty high chance of getting rugged. And there's no actual utility behind that. But we're talking about a chain with real utility. We're talking about gas tokens on a very valuable network. So, if you can't fathom why it's happening, you probably haven't done any studying on XRP, and you definitely should doing some of that research.
Boom, mic drop. Love that, Maddie. Team, before we get into the questions today, because we haven't officially started the questions yet, become a Crypto Charge member. Click the pin link down below. It'll take you to our website. I think we're still running the cyber code, so when you sign up, use code CYBER for this week. I don't know when we're going to chop that code off, but use it until we tell you no. And you can get all of your crypto education on the platform there, the shows, the tools, and you'll have access to the Discord, our community there. Maddie, let's get into the questions, comments, and hot takes for today. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Pompous says, should we be selling XRP/HBAR and reallocate into other alts that haven't run, or at least be taking some profits yet? I'm still waiting for all-out alt season with BTC dominance falling, but some reallocation might be a good idea.
I don't know what your personal portfolio looks like, and I'm certainly not a financial advisor and absolutely not your financial advisor. So I can't tell you what to do with your personal portfolio. Reallocation is a very personal thing to consider. So, one is going to be your risk appetite. Two is going to be, the amount of attention you're willing to give to this market for reallocation. So let's say you have, 8 or 10 assets in your portfolio and you have, 3 or 4 of them that have done, several X's in the last, month or two, right? You're up, let's say 3 to 5x on some of these assets. You can always look to see what is lagging behind your portfolio. You can also look at other opportunities that are, maybe still low in market cap as well as further back in their accumulative structures, and consider making some trims and rotations out of those into some of those laggards out there. But again, I don't think everyone is cut out for that kind of trading, because what's going to happen is if you start to get too involved and you start to make too many rash decisions, you're going to be, selling yourself too short, and you could see that same asset do another 2 or 3x from that point. And there's also capital gains to consider, right? If you hold an asset for less than 12 months, you pay a higher capital gains than if you hold it for longer than 12 months. So that's another consideration that you have to make. And even if you guys are thinking, well, I didn't sell it, I just swapped, XRP for Ethereum, for example, still a taxable event, right? So there's a lot of considerations, the amount of involvement you want to have, what your overall goals are, what your end of cycle goals are, and, how much you're willing to actually swing trade with. Because that's what we're really talking about here, is when we decide to take a rotation and we're trading, rotating it into something else, we're basically doing swing trading there. So it requires a lot more attention. It still requires a plan though, right? Like, it's not like, oh, well, I rotated into this and this, and let's just see how far it goes. There should still be an exit plan for that rotational asset when you move out of it. So it's not so much of a simple of just, hey, I'm just going to jump from this to this and keep making money. There always needs to be a very calculated plan. Even in our Discord, we had somebody talking about, hey, what's the ideology behind selling a little bit of XRP here and trying to buy it back here, right? You have to do the math. What is the cost of, if I don't sell anything and then I just hold everything to my top targets? And then what's the cost if I sell some and I don't get to rebuy back at the anticipated target? And then what's the solution if everything goes well, I get to sell here, buy back here, and then write everything to top targets, right? So we always want to do the math, look at the risk to reward, and make sure it makes sense, and we're not just being greedy and taking, a very well-positioned bag and just moving it into other things because we're impatient. We want those dopamine hits, right? So we always need to make sure we're doing the math, looking at risk to reward.
I love that, Maddie. And I think we get caught up in the short-term price action because we really need to be thinking about the longer term of our portfolio. When I think about my portfolio in comparison to others, mine is very simple because This is my first bull run. I have 5 cryptos. I'm looking to hold a portion of those for the long term. I'm going to sell 75% or 70% of my total bags. And so when we look at these big pumps, so for example, right now with XRP hitting 270, you could have sold a portion of that and entered into API 3. Okay, because API 3 is lagging, or if you were DCAing your API 3, you probably still have a low average. Adding to API 3 last week or the week before that was pretty reasonable. You're still getting great prices right there, and you're able to build your bag that way. A problem I'm seeing though is everyone's looking to, like, you see a little bit of pop and then it's like, oh, I better sell that and throw it into something else. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, I love what you got to say there. It's like, you have to do the math for yourself and see if it makes sense, right? That's the same thing when we talk about like where you need to enter in on a pullback. Is it a 10, 15, 20% pullback? That's where it makes sense to bring back in.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to wait for 5% of a pullback of an altcoin. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about significant pullbacks. So I love what you had to say there. I think people get so into the minutia and they forget the big picture.
Absolutely.
Jimmy says, have you guys watched the Rigged from the Start XRP documentary that just came out recently?
I have not had the chance to watch it recently. I've
Wow.
been just absolutely bombarded in our group just because we've got a lot of interest in the group. It's been a very busy time and we've been doing a lot of one-on-one sessions, so I haven't had as much free time as I usually do, but I do plan on checking it out. I'm going to guess that just about everything in this documentary are going to be things that I already know. I've been a holder of XRP since 2017 and I wasn't a passive holder. I was a very active researcher from 2017 forward, so I'm very aware of all the partnerships, all of the key players, all of the arch villains in this storyline, the victors, obviously a lot of the other participants, and some of the other case studies that have led to a lot of the decisions that we've come to here in the SEC v Ripple case. So yeah, definitely a great watch if you guys are kind of getting new to in the space here with XRP, or maybe you just joined in the last year and some change and you're like, I don't understand what everyone, what everyone's talking about with all this price suppression, artificial price suppression. It's going to be probably a good documentary to watch, but I haven't checked it out yet. Plan on checking it out. I've seen a lot of really good feedback from other people that I know have been in the XRP community for many years, and they said they really liked it and it was a very good representation. So I plan on it, just haven't had the opportunity yet.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to watch it. It looks like Brad Garlinghouse declined to, get an interview for that documentary, so it probably wasn't worthwhile. Shaw says, you guys are the best. Honestly, you have taught me Casper and also helped me calm and patient on XRP. Now I'm tempted to buy API3 low market cap. Can you advise a good entry point to get in? Also looking at Caspa and CHZ. Any advice on these three?
Yeah, so I'm glad that we've ideally pointed you in the right direction on some good picks out here. Patience is always going to be a factor, no matter what you're looking at. A lot of people have very strict timeline expectations, and they'll make a decision based on what they see, just overall momentum wise in the market. And if their coin doesn't do this X by this time, then they're out, or it's a shit coin, or it's a scam coin, or you shield it, and blah blah blah. So at the end of the day, patience is going to be one of the biggest factors that determines your overall success in this market. API 3, we've really been preaching API 3 sub $2. We are above that market point now, right? We're around 235 at the time of recording. So in the grand scheme, we still haven't seen a huge breakout here. But what we are seeing is something very similar to what we saw on HBAR, VChain, and Algorand, where you have a higher low that was established. So the low came in around 80 cents. We recently showed a lot of resilience around that $1.20 mark. So seeing kind of a double bottom in there. So that's what you like to see in an uptrend, or a trend reversal, is a higher high and a higher low. That's really what you guys should be capitalizing, is that higher low. A lot of my team did capitalize on that higher low. So of course, buying, a 230 instead of sub 150 is going to give you a different risk to reward ratio. But like you mentioned, there's definitely market cap to consider. One of the things that you mentioned here is Caspa, right? So you're saying, oh, well, I'm trying to decide between kind of Caspa, API 3, and CHD. I think that's Chili's, if I'm not mistaken. But when we look at the market cap for Caspa, so you guys can, by the way, go to coinmarketcap.com. It'll give you all this data, right? Like, you're like, how do people always know what the market cap is? They literally tell you what it is right here. So we can see the market cap is 3.87 billion for Caspa right now. So KAS being the ticker there. So it's pretty high there for Caspa. If we pull up the APA3 little right up here on CoinMarketCap, we can see the market cap's only 206 million. So significantly smaller. So what does that mean? It requires a lot less money to make the market move, right? So a 10x from here puts us around like that $2 billion mark, right? That's not a crazy amount of money. That's still significantly less than where Caspa's at market cap wise right now. And then if we look at CHZ, Chili's, it is Chili's. It's around a 1 billion market cap. So in order of market cap, it's going to go Caspa, Chili's, and then API 3, right? And by quite significant amounts. Still, Chili's being like almost a 5 times bigger market cap than API 3. So that's a very simple set of initial research you guys can do. Obviously, look at circulating supply, look at total market cap, see what's required to get there. When you look at API 3, right, we're still well below a lot of these major resistance levels. We go swing high, swing low in here. We're still below the 236, which from a grand scheme, if you guys watch Consistent Investor Strategy, $3 could technically be your DCA tolerance there. And again, that's going to differ for everybody, especially when there's different opportunities out there. But sub $3 is technically a good deal. portfolio. From current market, API 3 to take profit 1 is about a 5 or a 6x up into that $16 mark. And again, it's not going to require a ridiculous amount of money to get there. We're talking about a few $billion here at most for us to be up at those targets. And APA3 has been one of my most volatile assets in my portfolio. So, I think us achieving, 6 to 7 in these coming weeks is very likely. And, by end of cycle, $35 to $40, I don't think is unreasonable. And that's where I'm going to be doing a lot of my profit taking there. So again, not financial advice. You guys need to do research, make decisions that make sense for you and your portfolio. But those are some of the things that I consider when I'm making my choices, right? I look at the market cap. I look at the overall risk to reward ratio. I look at the structural opportunity, right? Because we talk about, hey, is $2.35 a good price? Maybe after we break out and then back test, it's a really good price, right? And if you're butted up against a ceiling of resistance, maybe it's not such a good price. So it's not always just about price. It's also about where we are structurally in relation to that price.
Maddie, can you flash the Caspa chart really quick? Because I believe it's overextended because it was overextended before the bull run really kicked off here.
Right. Yeah. So you guys can see Caspa has done very little pullbacks in here, has really just been a very aggressive line up here. And by the way, guys, I've shown so many charts for my team where like you get into an asset and like the chart looks like this for a hot minute. And then when you get those corrections, they end up correcting harder than the rest of the market. Like Sui and a variety of others are good examples of that. Not bad assets, just launched right in the middle of a very bullish period and then saw massive correction when the rest of the market corrected. So technically right now we're up here in a bull flag, but like we just talked about structurally, you are much further back in your structure than with Caspa versus API 3. I want to say that Chili's is probably a structurally okay opportunity. If I'm not mistaken, it's still further back. Yeah, it's definitely much further back here. So still kind of in that double bottom. So good structure to value, but if you were to take market cap into consideration, API 3 is still the better pick by amount of capital required to make price move higher when you even pin up Chili's versus API 3.
Tizona says, LMAO, the FOMO is real. Ain't last week y'all said no bank gonna be using them. What a research y'all did. I think he's talking about XRP.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
my God, that was I think I just lost 3 brain cells reading that sentence. So didn't say that. What I was talking about, right, is the ideology of one that people say that, BlackRock and all these other people are going to need my XRP so badly that they're going to pay me an exorbitant APY to borrow my XRP, right? Like I promise you, if you go want to find the videos that give you confirmation bias, there's an abundance of videos out there that talk about, I found this document and this suggests that, based on current market conditions, they'll pay you 25% APY. And I've also talked about more of the ideology of stable coins and other assets running over the XRP ledger than banks and institutions needing to custody massive amounts of XRP itself. Remember, XRP gets freed up very, very quickly after it gets sent, right? Like we don't have like huge hold times on them. It's not like Bitcoin where if I send Bitcoin, it could take 15 minutes or it could take an hour and a half depending on network congestion. XRP will arrive and be freed up with instant finality in a matter of seconds. So that liquidity is going to be a lot more consistent than looking at other assets. So I'm not saying they're not going to use them. I just don't think that they're going to use XRP in the capacity that you guys expect them to use XRP. When we go to make purchases, the average user in the financial system doesn't want to think or worry about volatility, right? Like when they send money to a friend or family member, they go to make a purchase at a point of sale. They don't want to think about volatility. That's what their investment portfolio is for. But when it comes to transactions on a day-to-day basis, we need stable assets that don't have any concerns of volatility. Now, the gas tokens that move those, of course, there's going to be volatility associated with that. I think that we're also going to see, because we've had this new proposal just passed recently, this is actually a very big deal. I know a lot of you guys don't care about this particular piece of news, but in the XRP protocol, it was required to hold 10 XRP to start up a wallet. This is basically to prevent people from just creating thousands of spam wallets and just kind of loading up the network with a necessary number of wallets. That's been reduced from 10 XRP down to 1 XRP. So now it just costs 1 XRP to open and maintain a wallet. If you guys had wallets that previously had 10, those other 9 XRP are now available. We also had the cost for NFTs and objects go from 2 XRP to 0.2 XRP. So now it's not only easier and cheaper to open a wallet, it is literally 10 times cheaper to mint an NFT or create objects or side chains or whatever else you want to do on the XRP ledger. So I definitely see this being a very, very viable and liquid tool for institutions to build on, but I do not think they're going to use XRP in the capacity that you guys think they're going to use it in.
Hey, if you're XRP poor, that's good news for you right there. John Ballard says, help me afford your course this year. I'm a trucker, owner, operating, and had to sell my Bitcoin, my Ethereum, and my XRP to fix my truck, new business. So I am struggling to pay my credit and reinvest. My Casper bag is all I have left.
Well,
We
I'm
had
sorry to
some
hear, brother. You know,
degrees
we,
there.
we definitely all fall in some hard times. You know, it's not a straight line up, especially when you own your own business. I can be a testament to that, even in the last 3 years and some change here of owning CryptoCharge.com. You know, there's definitely things that happen in our lives and in the markets, and you know, just overall with people in their lives where we have to kind of make some decisions to keep ourselves afloat. So sorry to hear that you've had to kind of reduce some of your investments down. You know, definitely, I think Casper is going to be an opportunity that's going to do really well for us, but it is going to require patience. When we make our investment portfolios, we do always need to be very careful to make sure, like we've talked about many times, that we're not over investing and we're using money that we would need out of an emergency fund, right? So for most people, they're going to just take any free money they have and going to put it into investments. But having a few months of, you know, your hard expenses covered in the event that, you know, things happen and you know, you have a slow month or things happen in your business where you have to compensate for that is a very important part of it, right? So that's also part of risk management. You can't employ the same level of risk management if you're living paycheck to paycheck, but then you're also just investing everything that you have into crypto, because what's going to happen the second you need that money, you are one, dependent on the market conditions. So maybe your portfolio is down and now you're going to be taking out less money at a very inopportune time. And two, you're going to be in a very like emotionally stressful environment. So I would encourage you, before you start adding more into crypto, to take whatever spare dollars you do have and start to rebuild an emergency fund. And then after that point, go ahead and start getting invested in crypto again, because you don't want to put yourself back in the spot again, start building up the crypto and then, you know, have to borrow against it again and then have to take it back out. It's a very ugly game that most of us don't want to play. So again, not saying that we, you know, a lot of us haven't been in spots where we've had to, you know, reduce some of the other assets we have to take care of the important things in life, but it's very important that we prioritize savings and emergency fund first before we start building an investment account.
Yeah, I love that, Maddie. Or even something more simple than that. You know, I know this is like very popular, but if you don't have that much money, say you got like $500, instead of investing that $500 into like crypto, which isn't gonna, I mean, crypto do a tremendous return. You know, you could 3x that, you could 4x that easy. But take that $500 and buy something that's gonna teach you how to make more money. It's as simple as
Right.
that. Also, on a complete other note, Maddie, because it just popped in my head right now, John here, should we make people sign waivers before we bring their, like, you know, dirty laundry onto the show here? Because, like, you know, I hope people know we do bring up your comments and questions onto a show where we yap about it. We make fun of you. We either respond, you know, humbly, you know, and we do those things. You guys do know we do that, right? Just to, like, let you guys know, hey, if you guys are going to air out your dirty laundry in the comments, probably gonna bring it up on the show because it's entertaining. So,
You know what?
Maddie,
If you don't understand how the internet works, I can't help you.
yeah.
That's on you.
Hey man, some of these old cats, like, dude, my grandparents are so old. Like, you know, this morning I was telling her, you know, what I bought for a friend, and I said, oh, I bought them a ledger. And she was like, "Oh, you bought them a ledger?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know what a ledger is?" She's like, "Yeah, it's, you know, the book where you know, write things down." And I was just like, "Oh my gosh."
I mean, she's not wrong, but
She's right, but I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so young," you know. I'm so
Totally.
young. So, anyways, team, thank you for joining us today. I think you got some value here. I think you got some look at some charts, some XRP background, good entry points on some altcoins. So if you got value, make sure you leave a like, and we will continue bringing banger content after banger content, banger show after banger show. Just make sure you are subscribed and or on the platform, of course. I was talking about that. I was just thinking about that last night. I was like, I am so worried for people. If they do not have a guiding hand, they will fail, right? Maddie, we talk sometimes just about people that come to you and it's like, you know, they might be watching this show for now 2 years, or they might be a crypto charge member for 3 years, and they're coming to you asking like very simple, very beginner questions like, oh, what is XRP? Or like, you know, I can't get my money onto Coinbase. Like, they're asking for my ID. What's that about? It's like very simple things that you just need to fundamentally understand. And I get worried for people, Matt. Do you ever get worried for people that's watching the show and it's like, you know, they're kind of just, you know, out in the ether, kind of lost, right? And then they watch our show and it's like, oh, let's buy API 3.
It's, you know, I know that it's most exciting to do the actionable things, right? Like when buying and selling and, you know, being active. And some of you guys probably watched enough movies where, you know, the guys are on the trading floor screaming at each other, give me 3 shares, da, da, da. And this is like your perception of trading. But like really most of the time it's very boring, right? Like most of the market is very boring. Most investing should be very boring. I believe that's a Warren Buffett quote, that and most investing should be very boring. Obviously it's a fast moving asset class, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't approach it with, you know, a lot of, you know, just poise and rationality. But guys, getting the basics under your belt is never fun, right? Nobody wants to start with the very first step in making sure they understand blockchain and DLT and how wallets work and understanding the mechanics of exchanges and seasoning periods and transferring over different networks. Nobody wants to do that stuff. But the longer you put it off, the more trouble you're going to have. I promise you, people would do anything to not make the mistakes they made in the past of just reading the transaction before they send it, making sure the address is correct, or double checking the networks and making sure they match. Because I've seen people lose not a few $100s, tens of thousands of dollars by not double checking things. So, guys, investing a little bit in the basis of your education is a very important piece of this. The sooner you get it out of the way, the better. I know a lot of you guys also just don't really take notes, so you're not really fully paying attention. I know we have a few members that have diligent notebooks, and they're the people who are always plugged in. They understand everything on a granular level. So if you guys are willing to invest that very small amount in the foundations of charting and the fundamentals of crypto, everything else is going to be a lot easier. You're not going to be asking questions and just trying to lean on everyone else to make a decision. You'll be able to lean on yourself to make decisions because you'll understand what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Love that, Maddie. All right, team. Remember, smash that like button. We'll be back next week on Monday, so make sure you are subscribed. But until then, team, bye.